Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really tearing down two massive networks. You've got the giant Apple and then the decentralized protocol Bitcoin.
Right. And we're looking at how they distribute value.
Exactly. Our mission is to figure out which system might be more, let's say, perfect based on one specific idea, proportional distribution. So maybe let's define that first. For this discussion, proportional distribution means a system where the financial gain someone gets from the network's success is directly tied to their economic stake, their ownership share.
Simple concept, but critical.
It sounds simple, but it immediately highlights how different these two are aiming for, right?
Absolutely. Gets right to their core goals, which shapes everything.
Yeah.
Apple, well, its structure is all about maximizing shareholder value. Think linear, kind of extractive flow.
Okay.
Bitcoin, its main job is totally different. Maintain a secure, censorship-resistant ledger. That naturally leads to a more circular, distributive flow.
Okay, let's unpack Apple first then. The familiar model, the shareholder-centric system. Where does the value actually start and where does it end up going?
Well, it really starts entirely with the customer, buying things. That makes the flow very much one way.
Like buying an iPhone.
Exactly. Buying an iPhone, that's like over half of Apple's revenue right there. Or using the App Store, paying those commissions, that drives their whole services segment.
Which is huge now, too.
Oh, massive. Nearly a quarter of their total revenue.
Yeah.
And then here's the crucial step. That revenue, all that customer spending, it gets transformed into corporate profit.
Right.
I mean, Apple reported, what, $97 billion in net income in 2023?
Yeah.
Just huge numbers. And that profit is captured entirely by the corporation.
The legal entity, separate from the users who generated the cash.
Precisely. A distinct legal entity.
Okay, wait. This is where it gets really interesting for me. So if I bought the phone, I use the services, I'm part of this network's success, but I don't see any monetary gain from that $97 billion profit pool.
Hey.
How does that work?
Because the system isn't designed for that. It's explicitly set up to reward the capital providers, not the consumers. The monetary gain flows almost exclusively to investors and shareholders.
Okay, how? What are the mechanisms?
Primarily through dividends, traditionally, but increasingly and more significantly now, it's share buybacks.
Right, buybacks. Can you just quickly define that? Because this seems absolutely central to how Apple's model works versus the alternative.
Absolutely. So a share buyback is when Apple, the corporation, uses its profits, the money customers gave it, to buy its own shares off the open market.
Okay.
This reduces the total number of shares floating around instantly, which means each remaining share represents a slightly larger piece of the pie. So every existing shareholder's stake, their wealth, automatically increases proportionally.
Without them doing anything extra.
Exactly. And we're talking huge amounts. This year, Apple authorized another $110 billion for buybacks.
$110 billion. Funded by customer revenue.
Funded by customer revenue. And the customer's direct monetary gain from all that network success, from funding those buybacks, it remains precisely zero.
That is stark. A really clear dividing line. Okay, so let's pivot. Contrast that with Bitcoin. Peer-to-peer protocol. What's fundamentally different in the architecture that changes this whole value dynamic?
Well, the biggest thing is the roles are merged. There's no real separation between being a user and being an economic stakeholder, an owner.
Oh.
If you hold Bitcoin BTC, you are an owner of that scarce digital asset. Your economic well-being, your financial outcome, it's directly, mathematically tied to the value of what you hold, your ownership stake.
So it's inherent in the holding.
It is. And the network itself operates with a more circular value flow. It's designed to be self-sustaining.
How so?
Its operational costs, primarily security, through the energy spent on mining via proof of work, those costs are paid by the network participants themselves.
So transaction fees.
Through transaction fees and also through the block reward, which is essentially a predictable, programmed inflation that dilutes all holders slightly over time. That combined cost is the explicit price everyone pays for decentralization, for keeping it trustless.
Got it. So what does this mean for the user, the holder? You said the game is proportional.
It's perfectly proportional and direct. If the network's total value doubles, let's say, then every single holder sees the value of their holdings double, whether you have 1 Bitcoin or 10 Bitcoin or 0.01 Bitcoin.
Instantly. No board meeting needed, no buyback announcement.
Exactly. The network's success flows directly back to every owner based purely on their proportional stake. No intermediary deciding how to distribute it.
Okay, so connecting this back to our main question.
The difference really is structural, isn't it? The Apple model, it intentionally decouples using the network consumption from benefiting financially from its success, the returns.
Right. Keeps them separate.
Whereas the Bitcoin model inherently merges the user and the owner. It ensures the network's success, its value appreciation, is distributed perfectly proportionately, according to our definition anyway.
Which, based purely on that definition of proportional distribution we started with, that structural difference does make Bitcoin seem like the more, quote-unquote, perfect distributive network here.
It fulfills that specific criterion more directly, yes.
Even when we acknowledge the trade-offs, right? Bitcoin has high volatility, the energy use debate around proof of work.
Those are significant factors, absolutely. But you could argue they're the necessary costs of achieving that trustless, censorship-resistant, proportionally distributed system. It's the price of that specific kind of perfection.
That's a fair point. The cost of decentralization.
But, this does raise one more, maybe complex question. It adds some nuance.
Okay.
What about the full node operators in Bitcoin? These are the people who run the software, download the whole blockchain, enforce all the rules.
Right. They provide network integrity.
Yeah.
Crucial.
Absolutely crucial. But they don't receive transaction fees. They don't get block rewards. There's no direct monetary payment for running a node.
So their participation is vital but not directly compensated in BTC.
Exactly. So if we're saying participation equals ownership, and ownership grants proportional rewards, what's their reward? Is it non-monetary? Is the enhanced security, the privacy, the sovereignty they gain from validating everything themselves? Is that their proportional stake?
That's interesting. Is preserving the network's integrity itself the most valuable kind of proportional stake you can have? Something definitely for you, the listener, to think about as you explore these two incredibly different economic models.